Greetings, Beth Shalom family. Here I am back with you with looking at our Torah portion of the week. This week we are in Parashat Behar from the book of Leviticus, chapter 25 1 through 26 2. The beginning of this Torah portion, it says, Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Behar Sinai Lemor. Throughout this Torah portion and throughout the book of Leviticus, even beginning with Leviticus 1:1, it says that God is speaking to Moses from the tent of meeting. But here, God is specifically speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai. Some scholars believe that Leviticus 25 represents an independent tradition that concludes in 2646. So that there's an idea that this particular section of Leviticus is a separate independent tradition. That's just one idea that's out there. The attribution to Sinai emphasizes the critical importance of ensuring the freedom and combating social and economic injustice. And breaking these rules, of course, constitutes breaking the Sinai covenant. So there's an introduction. There's laws regarding the Sabbath of the land. There's the 50th year Jubilee, the Yovel. And then the Torah portion concludes with description of the ownership of Israelites as basis for the laws of the Jubilee. Slavery is okay, but there are rules that you must abide by in order for slavery to continue. And in the Jubilee year, people are allowed to go free and land ownings are returned and so on and so forth. So let's talk for a bit about this 50th year, the Jubilee. The Jubilee laws demand the release of land and persons, and this is every 50 years. So you count 7 years of 7, that's 49, and then in the 50th year, that's the Jubilee year. So there's a loud ram's horn that's blown to signify the Jubilee year, signifies the Jubilee, the 7 months, 7 weeks of 7 years, 7 times 7 years, that's 49, and then we get the 50th year. And the Torah is clear. It says, Then you shall sound the horn loud in the 7th month on the 10th day of the month, the day of atonement. You shall have the horn sounded throughout your land, and you shall hallow the 50th year. You shall proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you shall return to your holding, and each of you shall return to your family. So if you are being enslaved, or you owe money or land, it's all returned and you go back. You no longer are in slavery. The point of the Jubilee year is to give a break. It doesn't mean, it makes sure that we are not permanent slaves. It makes sure that we do not hold these holdings over people's heads forever. That there's an exact amount of time. Judaism is very careful about exact times. For example, we mourn for 7 days, for 30 days, for 11 months and a day, and then every year on the Yartzeit. So Judaism is very much concerned with time. And the Jubilee year is just another example of that time. And then we move on to chapter 25, verse 18. You shall observe my laws and faithfully keep my rules, that you may live upon the land in security. The land shall yield its fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and you shall live upon it in security. Should you ask, what are we to eat in the 7th year, if we may neither sow nor gather in our crops? So God responds by saying, in the 6th year, God will make sure that there are enough crops for 3 years following. The 6th year, the rest is year, and then the 3rd year, because you won't have sowed for the 7th year. So God is taking care of it. So if 7 years times 7 is 49, and then we rest in the 50th year. I just want to turn to the last 2 verses of this Torah portion. It says, chapter 26, You shall not make idols for yourselves or set up for yourselves carved images or pillars or place figured stones in your land to worship upon. For I, Adonai, am your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and venerate my sanctuary, mine Adonai's. We are spending this whole Torah portion talking about the Jubilee year, the 50th year, or the resting of the year, the 7th year. And because it's 7 times 7, 7 years times 7 is 49. And then we end with this idea of keeping the Sabbath and God's sanctuary. Why? In the context of this parsha, the sanctuary appears to include not only the tabernacle, but also the land of Israel and the people of Israel. God is intending for us to venerate and to keep not just the Sabbath, but also all that is entailed within God's sanctuary, the people, the land, and the Torah. Once again, Israel refers to a people, a land, a state. God's sanctuary refers to a land, a people, the Torah, the sanctuary, the place where God's Torah dwells. All of these things are put together, and how we are able to venerate and keep the Sabbath and keep God's sanctuary is by following the rules that were given about, well, in general, but in this particular Torah portion, specifically with regards to the Jubilee. And remember, 6 years we plow the land. In that 7th year, we don't. So when we plow and we sow the land in the 6th year, we have for 6, 7, and the first of the next group of 7. You do that 7 times, that's 49. And then in the 50th year, it's a grand jubilee. Shabbat Shalom. See you soon.